Welcome back, everybody. This time we are going to have a look at Scarlet Tower. What is Scarlet Tower? Scarlet Tower is essentially a vampires survivors like, to keep it short. This is one of these games where you select a character, jump into a map, a lot of monsters are coming to run to you, and you start with essentially an automatic ability that shoots at them, and the more enemies that come, the more XP you collect, and the more cooler upgrades you can select between level ups to shoot even more and heavier. I think nowadays it seems like the term bullet heaven is trying to claim this kind of genre title, so to speak. Well, usually in these bullet hell games, a lot of bullets are coming towards you and you try to dodge, and you know, you are alone and against like a single enemy or maybe a few to dodge these bullets and come to an. And bullet heaven is essentially the idea that you are the centerpiece and you are shooting all those bullets while all the enemies are coming to you. I think that's where the term bullet heaven is coming from. So, Scarlet Tower, before we actually start into the game, first things first, options menu has a lot of general options, which I am a fan of, also audio sliders. I actually turned down the volume, because I find the volume in the main menu is surprisingly loud. I might tweak this up a little bit during the gameplay, because there's a little bit of a dissonance. It's very loud here, at least to me personally, and quieter in the gameplay, but might just be a me thing. I am willing to acknowledge this. So, Scarlet Tower, I was very happy and lucky to receive a key from the developer, so keep that in mind for transparency. What about the developer? The developer is Pyrex... Oh god, let me try this again. Pyrex... Oh god, Pikes Ralia, still mispronounced, that's for sure. But this is actually a Brazilian team, like I think 5, 6, 7 people, a smaller Brazilian team. And this is currently their second of 3 games. There's one still to be announced, all with very beautiful pixel art. I think that is kind of their main selling point. And the interesting thing, all 3 of these games seem to be featured in the same universe. These 3 games, one of which is of course Scarlet Tower, all of these 3 games which feature in the same universe and also seem to feature a day and night cycle, so there's like in gameplay overlaps as well, are still pretty much influenced by other games. Like Scarlet Tower in this universe with a day-night cycle seems to be influenced by Vampire Survivors. There seems to be another game that has the same style, day-night cycle, the same characters, the same universe, but seems to have been influenced by Terraria, if I got that right, by just having a look at the Steam page. And then there's an upcoming game with the same premise that seems to go for a Slay the Spire gameplay aspect with, like, of course, like roguelike card battle deck building game, so to speak, which I find very interesting. Like, I find this a very, cool way to build your business around, you know, keep the same franchise. Why not be influenced by other games? That's something I haven't really seen too much. Frankly, I can't even pinpoint like an exact example of this kind of like, what is this, like business plan on how you make your different games. I mean, why not? Like, make your gameplay and apply this to other genres, so to speak. And I mean, Slay the Spire and Vampire Survivors are essentially genres on its own, so to speak. And Terraria, or like a Terraria, like, I feel like the same. So I found that interesting. There's 2 things I noticed though. First off, the Terraria-inspired game seems, according to the Steam comments, has currently, I think, mixed reviews and seems to have been a little bit abandoned by this very developer, which, well, I noticed, to say the least. But I also noticed that at least in Scarlet Tower, there's a lot of frequent updates coming on. I think I redeemed the key for this game like 1 or 2 days. There was 1 update already. There have been a lot of updates in the news windows, so maybe there was just a little bit of a learning curve that they had to learn from the first game. At least I hope so. And they already announced their 3rd game, but there's also a roadmap for this game for more content and so on, so let's see how that goes forward. But now, finally, without further ado, here on JustDaZack, what's my mission? To show you guys a hopefully interesting video game almost every day. Let's jump into Scarlet Tower. Let's see what this game has to offer in comparison to, frankly, so many other bullet heavens or survivor likes. I feel like this is still a term we have to fight over. Well, first off, we hit start and we can select characters, and as you can already see in the upper corner or in the upper, the top of the screen, well, my English is on point today again. We have character selection, we have talents, we have unlockables, power-ups, familiars and runes. So we have seemingly a lot of different ways to have meta progression and meta upgrades, for example. Let's start, well, with the characters actually, which I'm going to select in a second. You can see, I think when you start off, you only can play Violet and Nin. I did play like, I think roughly 2 hours at this point to unlock a few things already, like Lance, Riz, Allure, Vermos, and I definitely like the pixel art and the art style of pretty much all of them. They have a unique aesthetic. Yeah, this is definitely one of the plus points of this game. I think it's just very beautiful pixel art. So I think I played with Violet, who's a vampire, and this is a thing as well, which I think in power-ups, racial traits are a thing in this game as well. Like, this guy is a vampire, and Nin, I think, is an elf, Riz is a human, for example, and we can essentially upgrade them with those as well. So every single character has, of course, their own unique look. They have a main weapon, they have a passive, and apparently a glyph as well. I have to admit, so far I wasn't really able to unlock multiple glyphs or upgrade them. I think maybe I could have, but I spent my purple points somewhere else. We have coins, we have purple points, and we have these red, I don't know, red buttons. Let's go with that. So different currencies for different upgrades, but this is a single player game, so at least so far there's no microtransactions, just in case that is a worry of you. It really isn't, even though I've noticed during my gameplay, it's a little bit all over the place on what you can afford and whatnot. Some things, for example, the familiars, which I've found, 3 already. The Salamander, the Hoot and the Djinn, which they also follow, which I like. Like, one upgrade cost 20,000. That's quite a lot, actually. It's actually increases health by 25. The Djinn, Earth Protection. The Hoot has increased movement speed, and Salamander increased critical damage. I'm gonna go with this because apparently we can level these up individually as well. So there's leveling up, there's upgrading. But for example, if we go back to power-ups, we have, of course, these racial traits, which we need to pay for with purple coins, which are also, like, look at this, almost 5k, or an upgrade 1k. Let's actually go with this. There's so many points that, to get into. Let's go with the purple points. 1,000, 5,000. And previously, we also have a talent tree, which is also another way to upgrade. And you can tell here, to unlock one additional point on this talent tree, it costs 800. I think the first tier 300. This is where I spent most of my talent purple points so far. You can see I went all the way down. You unlock them with the purple points, and then you upgrade them with money. And I managed to get quite far ahead here, but yeah, it starts with like 300, 800, 1,500, 3,000. So it seemed to me that like 1,000 or almost 5,000 here was a little bit disproportionate. Again, that is just an impression. I haven't played too much to really say if that is true or not, just to get that out there. But we have the same here with these stats. This is probably what you guys know from other survival likes, Bullet Heavens. These are just pure stat upgrades, like greed, we get more money that we find on the way, we get more luck, better unlockables, or, you know, chance of collectibles appearing, a bigger gathering range, just more armor, like all the stats by just a bit. And they start off with like 200, and I think the biggest tier is 1,200, as you can see here. And then again, we have familiars, which just the first tier already cost 20,000. I really wonder how much the second is gonna cost. 40,000, maybe even more. So that seems interesting. We also have runes as another way to upgrade. We can find runes on the map somehow, or sometimes. And for example, I found this power rune, which increases damage by, well, when I found it, 10%. You can see this is already a power rune +2, and currently increases my damage by 13.08%. Well, I found the rune. I also equipped it here in my rune slots. You can tell I can equip up to 5 runes. I currently only have this first one. But when you have a rune, you can also spend your purple points, your coins, or your red buttons for these enchantment things. And if you put the rune towards the left, I think I used like 2 medium enchantments when I paid them, and then I managed to upgrade said rune. So that's another way to spend your points. You have all those things. It seems a little bit like this also might come out for mobiles or so, and then you maybe have to pay for this. It seems inspired by this game, but at least so far for single player, this is totally fine. I'm of course playing this via Steam. It's just, it's a lot, and maybe this is a feature of this Vampire Survivors, like that there's just a lot of customizable options, a lot of upgrades. Things might be a thing as well to differentiate yourself from others of this genre, which I think is fine. Just want to point all of this out. So we have the runes, we have the familiars, power-ups. I didn't dabble too much into these racial traits, but for example, for the humans, we can see here works with these 3 characters. This is the last hope unique passive. Humans' boundless determination allows them to keep fighting even in the worst situations. Upon reaching 25 health or less, humans are healed by 40% of their maximum health over 20 seconds. This effect can occur once every 2 minutes. Well, there's also the glyph, which we've seen at the character selection. We have the glyph Weapon of Trust. When activating Last Hope, main weapon attack drains 0.50, not sure, percent for the duration of Last Hope. I'm not sure if it's like a 0.5% or is it's actually 50%, the way it's like here, but that might be a me thing. Okay, also unlockables, of course. This is essentially, I think, also tied 1-to-1 to the achievements for this game, if you're into that. I am personally not. But here you can see what you have unlocked, like different weapons, different characters, the different maps, and what you have to do for them in general. You can see as well, I played like 2 hours of this game so far. And I managed to unlock quite a bit already. So I'm not sure how much more there's to come. I hope way more. The game currently is in early access, keep in mind, so it's gonna be improved upon and the content is coming more out throughout time as well. But I'm a little bit surprised, I have to point that out, that there's quite a few things already, even though I've played like, yeah, maybe just 2 hours so far. So this also might play in, of course, with the familiars and so on. Played 2 hours already, and they are expensive, but of course, maybe this is supposed to be like end game tier, so to speak. Talents as well, you can sell, see with this tree, I showed this previously, we have like Pyromancy, you can only always choose one. For example, I could choose Necromancy, but I went with Pyromancy, grants a 25% chance to apply burn on hits, plus 5% chance per rank, well upgraded this to the full 5. And all the way down we have, for example, Battlecry, after using a dash, grants you 25% movement speed and attack speed. So you can a little bit customize your character and your approach and your builds with those different things as well. And of course I went almost offensive. But now finally, without further ado, let's actually select, who do we want? Let's select Riz. Or Allure? Allure was fun. I think so far I managed to win my only true round with Allure, so let's go with him. He has a dual katana, main weapon, slashes forward, creating a projectile that deals 45 damage. That slash can pierce through 5 enemies. He also has the passive ability right now, Rising Sun. Whenever you destroy 10 targets within 5 seconds, Allure summons a solar aura around him that lasts 7 seconds, dealing 10 damage to enemies hit. And of course we could upgrade that if we had the coins, I currently don't have. And he also has this glyph, Burning Rush. Whenever the Rising Sun ability is triggered, movement speed and attack speed will increase by 20%. So those work together, very interesting. And I think, is he a vampire actually? Let's find this out. No, he is a human actually. So Last Hope should also apply to him. That when he's below 25% health or less, he will heal up a bit, which is helpful. So sure, let's select him, let's go to the map, and unfortunately, even though I played 2 hours, I only can play the first map right now, Night Pine Valley. I could go for a higher difficulty with corruption level. If we do this, we would gain like 8.9% more coins, 7.8% more experience, 5.6% more purple points, but enemy power would increase by 20.2%. Kind of like interesting, like uneven percentages, but sure, why not? But just to show this to you guys, of course, Corrupted Tentacle also seems to spawn, which seems cool. So much fuck. I haven't seen that much fog though, I have to admit. Let's go with the base difficulty just to show you guys what this is about. Let's finally, 15 minutes after, jump into the game. You can tell I like to talk about them, but sometimes you also get a show. There we go. There we go with the classic survivor-like gameplay. We run around, our main weapon ability will be triggered. We have our familiar, which you guys saw, and enemies are coming towards us, and we try to survive. While doing the upgrades, which you see right here, doing a level up, we choose a new power. So, before we go, I'm gonna select the slime stuff. There's different rarities as well. You can tell slime stuff is a little bit rarer, and this shoots slime fluid every 9 seconds, dealing 50 damage and applying chill. We also could choose the fire stuff, which shoots fireballs, and iron armor. So, different rarities. Gotta keep that in mind. There's also a fusion mechanic, which we might know from others of this genre. So if I have, for example, the fire stuff, I think, and the frost stuff, there's a frost stuff as well. If I have both and they are fully upgraded, I can find, after elite bosses or so, let's actually, so, 2. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. So if I have these 2 staffs fully upgraded, frost and chill, I could fuse them together later for a water stuff. And the water stuff is way more powerful than these 2, well, on their own. So there is reason to keep that in mind, to try to find these different things, combinations that can be fused together. That's, I think I managed to only have 2 fusion items so far, which is the water staff, and the other one was like the shadow cloak, which I managed to get by finding the shadow crown and something else with shadow. I'm gonna take the hellfire stuff. Usually the rarer the better, I think. And frankly, I haven't really found too much of a reason in this game to go for defensive items, because frankly, the more damage you deal, well, the less damage you usually receive. And there is some survivor likes that I've played where it might, I think, the Torment game was one. Frost Size, sure, always Rarity. Oh, Hellfire stuff. That's new. Fusion with, interesting, that's cool. I didn't know this. This actually tells you which you can fuse these together with. So we want to have the Holy Bible or Sacred Water if we can, and the knife and or fire scythe. Good to know. But why is there a rarity? Can the knife also come up in a different rarity? Does it mean for us frost thighs? Because this is green. Let's take this for now. I wonder, does it mean I need to have a purple knife to only fuse that together with a frost scythe? I actually don't know. Interesting. Hopefully not. That would make it so much harder. Fusion with. Well, there's another frost scythe. Well, that's just an upgrade. Oh, Holy Bible. We need this for this, right? Even though this is orange. Let's hope it still works. I really wonder how that's gonna work. Because I think so far I've only seen these items always be at their appropriate rarity. They have a set one and not something else. But yeah, these things work essentially how you know them. The Holy Bible, it just circles around every second, like there we go. Increases damage, the glacial staff is going to shoot, and everything that happens here. You can tell there's a lot of things happening, but usually this game, or at least my experience, your main weapon is almost always your best weapon. Maybe if you have these fusion items, they are stronger, but yeah. Your main weapon usually is pretty good. I have to admit, these items are very fancy looking. As you can see, here's a lot of things. But yeah, you just go for the best item, the most damage dealing item, that's fine. And as you can tell, the visuals are very beautiful. This is... here you can see there's now these plants spawned, and if I go through, I take a lot of damage. And unless you're in the end game and have all the upgrades, you can't really destroy them, which I find a bit sad. Because this seems to be copied 1-to-1 from Vampire Survivors, I have to admit. And if you concentrate, they have a lot of hit points. Usually it's actually fields. When they appear and this ring of vines circles in around you, sometimes you really want to break through. Well, not necessarily in this game. You can, but yeah, it's kind of hard. They have so much HP. You can't really break through by destroying them. You essentially can just break through by just taking the damage and just go through them. I feel like that would be something that I would personally like to see improved. Again, I like the visuals. I have seen in the Steam comments that there's a surprising amount, apparently, of people who think the visuals are not clear enough, and I've criticized this in other games quite a bit myself as well. Maybe this was in past editions the thing, but I have to admit, every time I got hit here, I feel like, or I felt like that was on me as well. So I have to admit, even though there's a lot of things going on the screen, I feel the overall visual clarity is pretty decently done. Maybe there's a few things I would like to see improved, but I can't really pinpoint anything. Just maybe like some, yeah, that would literally just be a nitpick. Here you can see there's this flower on the ground. This is kind of spawning this shield. So there's incentives to go around. I know that you can find a compass. So there seems to be end game as well, where you really want to venture out into the world. You can see there's a lot of level ups, and also keep in mind, of course, I have a lot of unlockables already. I'm way stronger than when you initially start off this game. Let's actually move around in the world a bit and try to find people. Because especially for the late game on this map, you want to find a merchant, especially, for example. There's some pickups here that restores me, because merchants, essentially, when you find one, you trade in your... Well, as you can see, this game tracks how many enemies I have defeated. Let's just call them souls. Right now I have already 1500 souls. And the merchant wants these souls and gives you a very powerful item, usually. Either a permanent upgrade, like 30% more attack speed, which sounds pretty good and is pretty good, or like some super rare weapons. And those usually cost, I think, like 3500 souls or something like that. I think on my last run I managed to get 2 items. And that really helped me to survive. Maybe even 3, I'm not sure. But yeah, you can tell there's so much going on. But even though I feel like the visual clarity is very well done. But again, I have seen the developers updating this game quite a bit. So maybe this was a thing in the past editions of this game. But so far in this version, I feel like visual clarity is pretty much done. I even have this dash ability. Maybe that's a thing. There we go. There's a merchant, of course, a frog guy, because why the hell not? The dash is something that you have to get used to. It is helpful, but it is a little bit short, and I'm a little bit sad that you can't essentially improve or upgrade your dash ability. There's one character, I think the very first vampire character, who has a unique dash ability where he turns into a bat that gets more speed and so on. But everyone else so far has just a very short dash. And keep in mind, it is short, and you do not get invincibility frames. I think that is the thing that you would usually expect, and it is a bit sad that you don't have invincibility frames. You can make use of the dash because the enemies luckily are not completely homing in into you, and you can just barely avoid them and then use the dash to dodge if they get too close. Oh, there's an elite enemy. He's going to spawn an AoE, but luckily to our upgrades we're dealing so much damage on, well, essentially level 0 Devil Kill the... He's just gone before I could have seen this. But this guy was quite a problem when we started off, and he dropped a chest. At the chest you have coins and usually 1 upgrade. Sometimes if you're lucky you get a bunch of upgrades, like up to 5 even. And most importantly, these chests give you the fusion. If you have the required thing, you get the fusion item out of those, which also of course clears one of your weapon slots in the upper left corner here and gives you a more powerful item. So we are close to 3500. Then we can go to this merchant guy. We could also already go to him, but we probably wouldn't be able to afford something. Let's actually see. Just gonna walk over to him. No. These 3 permanent upgrades. Yeah, damage by 30%, armor by 8%, cooldown reduction by 8%. All of those cost 35%. 3,500 souls, sorry. That's on me. But yeah, there's so much going on. Again, I have, even after these 2 hours, I have so many permanent upgrades that level 0 difficulty on this map doesn't really seem to be a problem. You could tell I didn't pay too much attention to the different things. I just took the things I thought and took the upgrade. And I think this is also a little bit of disappointing. Well, not necessarily disappointing, but I think I would go for acknowledgement and impression of this game so far. Like, these seem to be mostly very standard. I'm actually going to reroll this for this attack speed. Very, yeah, generic upgrades so far. You have the Frost Scythe, the Fire Scythe, the Hellfire Staff. And there's a lot of going on. But so far, also with the upgrades, you usually pick one and that's fine. I haven't really seen a reason or even an opportunity or ability to really try to have different builds going on due to the upgrades I find in this game. You just go for the best thing. Damage 30%, let's take this. And that's pretty much it. It doesn't really seem to go for like, I want to go for all the things that shoot projectiles, and I want to try to get my attack speed going up to shoot projectiles even faster, or get an upgrade that gives you more projectiles. That doesn't really seem to be the kind of game here. And you can also see in the upper right corner, there we can tell when it's gonna become nighttime, and I'm gonna show you guys that. But so far it also doesn't really seem, even though that is a mechanic, and I would really like to see that to be maybe the selling point. The day-night cycle hasn't really played too much into my rounds, on this first map at least. There is gonna be some werewolves coming up, and enemies seem to be a little bit faster and a little bit more aggressive. And some of these experience crystals look like purplish, and the style changed, and the visuals are different, and that is nice and appreciated. And of course I now went to the merchant while he disappeared, because you can only use him once, and then we venture out into the world and try as well. And there's also, of course, as you can hear, temperature changes. We have now evil snowmen attacking us. So again, the visuals are very good. I like them, and I frankly also like that there's so many trees here, and you have to be careful, because otherwise you get stuck them. And you have a little bit of hindrances on the map as well that you need to keep in mind to dodge around. Also these pools. Well, apparently not this one, but I think there's some where you have to go around some deeper ones. I'm pretty sure. Also, yeah, you have so many trees, and you have to a little bit. For example, here we have this circle of trees where I have to, oh no, I'm trapped. Can I get through here? Oh, I actually can. Cool. But I feel like all these different things aren't necessarily utilized in a cool way to really stand out from others. Like again, now we have a different temperature, somewhat different enemies, but they still get squashed and are not that unique. I don't change my playstyle. I think this is my biggest gripe so far of this game, if I'm completely honest. And of course later on there's gonna be boss enemies, but yeah, this is what I can't really move, and I have to move around this pond here, which is cool. But this is my biggest gripe so far with this game. It doesn't really do anything to stand out from others. It seems to feature different temperatures and a day and night cycle, and this fusion mechanic to, you know, play around with that. When it's dark, you have to play completely different. And there is the vampires, we have humans. Some of these characters behave a little bit different and are somewhat stronger or weaker during daylight or nighttime. For example, the vampires. But that is just a very minor and essentially not really noticeable. Even though it seems to want you to play around and keep in mind, oh no, it's dark, now you have to play completely differently. It just seems to imply that. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. But it doesn't, you know, bring it. More of it's never more than an implication. The same, I feel like, with all the trees and these ponds. It seems to imply that you want to move around the map. Again, we will find a compass, and there's incentive to get the find the merchant, find some permanent upgrades, the familiars and so on, to venture out into the world, which I find very cool. And now we're strong enough to finally destroy these enemies and go and break out, which is cool. But yeah, it seems to imply these different things, but the mechanics don't really support that. And I find that a little bit sad, because I feel visually this game really holds up. I really like the visuals, clear, I like what's going on. But mechanically, all of those things are solid, but not necessarily more. When I looked at the Steam page, it currently has very positive reviews, and some people are of course unhappy and complain that the visuals are not clear, or they get stuck in these trees, which I guess for some people I can understand that, or I wouldn't be surprised if the developers actually improved that during the different upgrades and version changes during early access, which I definitely find very promising. But the items itself are all, okay, fancy, but I don't really seem to have a variety in different builds so far, at least from the upgrades. Yes, I want to go for fusions, but even though, well, I probably have to find a chest. because I would really now figure out if my Holy Bible works with my Hellfire Staff. Because we have a blue Hellfire Staff here, but this tells us a orange Holy Bible. So can I only fuse them together if I have a different array? I really wonder, I wonder. And the same, again, with the trees. It seems like it wants to go or imply that you have to keep your environment. There we go with the chest. Let's figure out. Do I get the fusion item? Underworld, I do. Cool. So the rarity is just a little bit confusing, but we now have the Underworld Tome. Every 10 seconds creates a blast of hellfire that deals 500 damage and burns enemy. That's cool. So an upgrade, we have a new slot. This visually looks nice, even though I feel like the Holy Bible and these things could be a bit more in the foreground, for example. It does get a little bit lost in all the things happening. Maybe that's what I would like to see improved with the visual clarity. But yeah, that's one of the nitpicks. Again, sorry, I'm getting, with all the things going on, I keep losing track of what I tried to say. Yeah, with the trees and so on the other thing, it seems to imply that navigating through the map seems to be something that you want to keep in mind and maybe want to improve. I'm just going to take the Underworld term because why not? Oh, that's the upgrade here. Got it. But it doesn't really follow through. The same with the builds. Why should I go for defensive playstyles? Maybe there's a character, I haven't really seen a character, maybe I missed it, that wants to rely on defensive items, but so far it seems like offensive is always the way to go, and using a defensive item feels like a trap choice. And again, day-night cycles. Now it's night, and yes, it's different enemies coming at us, but as you can tell, yes, I'm probably overpowered for this difficulty right now due to my meta progression. But again, even at the beginning, my playstyle doesn't change. The things I select do not change. The characters, I do not play them differently. And that's kind of the sad thing. I feel like the ingredients are all there. Because we have so many meta progressions. I feel like this game could differentiate itself from other survival-likes by being maybe giving you so many upgrades and so many unlockable things to have like a bazillion different things you want to upgrade. Doing on the map, your familiars, your characters, your races, maybe upgrades that are day and night specific or so. That could be a thing to differentiate us. Oh, there's the boss. Let's get to the merchant. We could go with the Flame Crown. Increases your greed. No HP regeneration. Let's go with the Flame Crown. Oh, this costs 7,000. I don't have that. Ah, that would be cool. No, in this case, I'm gonna take the regeneration. Let's see if he can even get us. This is the boss guy. Let's see if we defeat him. Or maybe the way to differentiate itself from other survival-likes would be the day-night cycle again. But I don't really see too much of a difference between day and night. I would like to. It would be cool to maybe be more aggressive during the night and more defensive somehow the other way. More aggressive during the day or more defensive during the night. As if I play as a human, maybe it would be different if you play a vampire. You play way more offensive because you're stronger at night, but you have to be very defensive. I'm just gonna take everything. Don't have a reason why not. But yeah, it's vampire during daylight. You really want to play defensive because you're so much weaker or something. And it would be nice, oh man, now we get all the things. Would be nice if the weapons also maybe behave different. Now we get all the chest between day and night. I feel like that should be the differentiation point to make this game stand out from others. This day-night cycle. I mean, it's heavily featured here as well, but it doesn't really follow through, unfortunately. Maybe that would be the thing. The same with traversing through the map. There's so many trees, and you kind of have to keep in mind that to not get stuck here. And if you have so many, I feel like you should use them. That's kind of the thing here. We have 7 minutes to survive, but frankly, again, I'm overpowered due to all my meta upgrades, so I'm not really worrying too much to get towards the end. And I think even we don't have to survive the full 7 minutes and 20 seconds, because I think like essentially death is coming like the last 2 minutes or so, and I'm pretty sure we are already strong enough to defeat him if we survive and dodge him. And against bosses, especially starting on, you have to use the dodge mechanic, even though I haven't used it yet. Against certain enemies, that does make sense, and it'll be nice to upgrade that with the different characters or so. Oh, look at this. Did we just find this character here? I think we just... Yeah, I think this was the last character we unlocked. You know what? Let's actually quit to the main menu and figure out. We do have, of course, in the pause menu all our attributes. We can have a look at the weapons. I appreciate all of that. Yeah, that was Laia. There we go, the Night Elf. Summon, which has the Moonlight Staff as main weapon. Summon the power of the moon to channel a beam of light. The beam lasts 3 seconds, dealing 50 damage. Also Starfall. For every 10% missing health, Leah creates 2 stars that fall around her, dealing 400 damage in the area of impact. And the glyph is Pertinent Star. Starfall leaves a mark on the impact location, dealing 15 air damage for 7 seconds. So the mechanics, the scope is there, and I really enjoyed this with all these different characters, different passives, different glyphs, the talent trees, the familiars, the power-ups, 4 racials, just 4 stats, and the runes. All of those things are there, but this is kind of I didn't plan this, but there we go, almost with a Skyrim comparison. Skyrim for RPG fans like me is essentially always seems amazing, but the feels and the gameplay is essentially as wide as an ocean, but as deep as a puddle, so to speak. And I feel like this is what Scarlet Tower is right now. All the things that might make this an amazing game, I can see them, but so far it seems, yeah, wide as an ocean, but kind of deep as a puddle. The gears don't really click together right now to make this completely stand out with others, and the feeling I have after having played this, it feels fine. And that's essentially the feeling I really have. This is a very solid survival-like bullet heaven game, Scarlet Tower, ladies and gentlemen. This is, for me personally, the definition of a 7 out of 10. This is solid, but nothing is bad, but also nothing is particularly great. This is just solid. It looks great. The mechanics are all okay. The gameplay is okay. And the game is okay so far. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is only my impression of having played Scarlet Tower now for roughly more than 2 hours. Please tell me what you think. Have I been too critical of the game? Maybe I'm too nice of the game. Please give me feedback of my presentation. Please tell me what you think of Scarlet Tower. Again, the game is currently in early access. Link is down in the description too. Please feel free to check it out yourself. Give me your feedback. It's always very, very much appreciated. Please consider sharing this video if you found it interesting, enjoyable, or, well, just worth sharing. That would really mean a lot. Stay awesome. And we're gonna see each other right over there in the next video, right? Truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching, and bye-bye.